So in this video, I'm going to discuss the differences between an assessment and a test quiz in Schoology, as well as how to convert old test quizzes over to the new assessment tool. So you'll notice there are two different options for those type of assessments now. Eventually they will phase out the test quiz, although it has been some time. But the assessment tool is basically Schoology's answer moving forward for those digital assessments that are graded and conducted all within Schoology. So as you can see here are my two options, the test quiz and the assessment. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the differences between those, as well as how to convert it. So the first thing you'll notice about the difference between the test quiz option and the assessment option is just the number of choices you have in the assessment tool. So in the test quiz option, you have 6 question types that you can use. However, when you move over to the assessment tool, there are some additional tools that you can use as far as question types, including fill in the blank drop downs and drag and drops, as well as the uploading images and then having students highlight hotspots or images or specific text. And then there are some math specific options as well, as far as math short answers, using number lines, and then also looking at charts. So from a sheer question type perspective, you'll notice that the assessment tool has a lot more in addition to what is already in the test quiz option. So now if we look at the test and the assessment side by side with the same question type, we can look at some more of the differences here. So you can see visually they are somewhat the same. You can see that they do indicate what question you are on and how many questions are remaining. You can see that over here on the test demo side as well as the assessment tool. On the test demo side, you can see I can select an answer and then hit and submit. What you will notice, which is the next major change between the assessment tool and the test quiz tool, is that the assessment tool also includes now some student test taking strategies built in, as well as the ability to use some different devices like calculators and rulers directly within the test environment. But to go through some of those changes here, on the right hand side, you'll notice the assessment demo shows this bar here, which basically gives me some different options. So one of the things I can do as a test taking strategy is I can flag a question for review. So a student can go ahead and mark this and then come back to it later to mimic some of those strategies you do when taking standardized testing. I can also choose to eliminate choices, meaning if I wanted to cross out something I definitely know it's not, if I choose that option and then click on something, I can eliminate options that are there that I know are not correct, and then I can also mark this for review and come back to it. So that is another test taking strategy built in. There also is some accessibility options as far as changing the color scheme, the font size, and zooming in. So that's also available for your students here in the assessment tool. I can go ahead and pull up a calculator, and I have a choice as the creator of the assessment to choose just a basic calculator or to make a scientific calculator available. I can also choose a ruler, whether that's in centimeters or inches, protractor, as well as allowing students to use a notepad. They can go ahead and put some information in there. But this toolbar gives you a little bit more test taking strategies for your students, allows them to flag questions for review. So before they submit answers, when they go back to review, it'll show which questions have been flagged, which questions have been unattempted, and it'll allow you to go ahead and go back to those before submitting your exam. So this is another major difference between the assessment tool and the test demo tool. The final one we'll take a look at is just the reporting once a test is submitted. So the final difference that I wanted to point out between the test quiz and assessment tool is just the reporting that comes after students take the exam. Now keep in mind I only have one submission here, so it won't be as much information as you could have with a full class. But once it's done, I can go in and view the results. I can view them by student. So you can see here I can go through and see the overall results by student. I can also view by question, so I can see how students responded, who on the most or least points on the average score for each question. I can go in here and view individual responses for each student as well, so I can look at what those responses are. So in this case it shows Jane Doe's. I can also add a comment once they have responded. Something else I can do in here as well is I can view the overall stats, so I can see the number of people who have been graded, who scored the max, and the difference between the highest and low, as well as that standard deviation and other information. If I go into the assessment tool, the reporting features are similar, however they are more graphically useful, and you can go into the reporting section and see they show the average score. You can see all student scores, as well as it showing up on a graph to show you the range of scores and to show you potential outliers in that reporting as well as when you go into reporting, you can also see the performance for each item. So each question that you have, you can see the average score. You can look and see how each student, who performed high, as far as higher than a 75%, etc. So you can get this information with a little bit more detail and looking a little cleaner in the assessment tool. So this has been the difference between test, quiz, and assessment. The next thing I want to do is show you how to convert an existing test quiz that you may have over to the new assessment tool, so that you can continue to use this, as well as potentially add some more interactive questions that are available in the assessment tool. So if I am in a course, it's not as simple as just clicking on it and converting it. There's one extra step in here. So if I go into this, let's say I want to convert this test demo into an assessment, what I first need to do is actually need to save it to my resources. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I can choose to put it just on the home page, or I can put it in a specific folder. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now that it's in my resources, I need to go over to my resources section. I'm looking for this test demo, and if I go ahead and click on the gear and the little arrow next to it, I can actually convert this to an assessment. I'm going to go ahead and convert it in the same spot. Now this may take some time depending on how large this test quiz is, but it's going to go ahead and convert this now. You can see it's actually done, so it's been converted. So the next step would be to go ahead and add this back to the course now that it's been converted. So I'm just going to click on the drop down arrow. I'm going to choose to add this to a course. I'm going to select the course I want and then fill out the information that I need to fill out in order to get this over. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now if I go back into my demo course, you can see that test demo has been added to Unit 1, I believe. Yep. So now let's go ahead and added that test demo has been converted from a test quiz assessment type to the new assessment tool. And what it allows me to do now is to add these different question types that have a little bit more interactivity to the existing test quiz that I created in the past. This has been the difference between test quiz and assessment tools. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.